Mate, what is honestly going on in recruiting at the moment? Like, is it like,
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it seems like, I mean, obviously, there's good and bad, yeah. I don't want to like bad mouth the industry, but like, there's some real LinkedIn lunatics going on at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. People are having a tough time at the minute. Recruiters are, um, like a really tough time. I
Mm.
think that's kind of feeding into it. But I'm seeing an increase in like recruitment rants on LinkedIn by recruiters.
Yeah.
You know, the
Oh yeah, yeah,
candidate
yeah,
stuff aside, but I think some of the recruiters are. I mean, you showed me one the other day, didn't you?
yeah,
What was it?
yeah.
The what was she saying? She was moaning
Oh,
about.
shall I read it out?
Go on. Yeah.
Okay. This is crazy. This is crazy. Right, okay. It's just like, recruiters, five exclamation marks. Hear me out. What if we band together to stop these candidates wasting our time? Our time. Aren't like the candidates like the commodity? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? They're their
Yeah.
resource.
The recruiter's time is not. Yeah,
Yeah,
is not the commodity. Absolutely,
right.
the candidate. I
Wasting
can't.
our, wasting our time, our money, and our clients' time. Big exclamation marks again. For as long as we have been at the mercy of the candidate, the mercy of the candidates.
Please, please.
You think like they're like, you know what I mean? The candidates are like whipping them in a salt
Yeah,
mine or something. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? So many times we have been let down by promises of fulfilling a job, promises of their everyday. That's her grammar, not mine. And on time. We are a small network, and to be honest, if we had our own group of DNAs, they would no longer have the upper hand. We have allowed this, so let's stop it. Anyone in agreement? So she's like creating some sort of recruitment lynch mob for
I
like
wonder if she means
candidates.
like NDAs. Look,
It definitely says DNAs, and I was
yeah.
like, what does that mean?
She's obviously had a bad day.
Yeah, someone's backed out last minute. Yeah,
Yeah. Look. Right. There's no doubt that there are candidates who, in certain sectors, will repeatedly kind of make excuses to not go to interviews, not turn up on their first day, and so on and so forth. No, that's part of the job, unfortunately. Um, but I mean, if she's that sounds like she has that happen a lot, which then immediately my mind goes to, okay, what are you doing wrong? You're doing something wrong,
yeah,
right? The industry in the UK alone is like a £40 billion industry. So people are going to work, people are taking job offers, and money is being made. So, I mean, to say that every candidate's doing that is wrong. I would argue that this consultant probably lacks kind of like candidate control, but not candidate control in the sense that like they're forcing them. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, right, what value are you adding? Why are your candidates so happy to let you down? Because I mean, if that's your approach, and you're treating them like you're doing them a
I'm
favor, and
not being funny, but if I was a candidate, which I have been recently, right, and she was my recruiter, and we connected, and this was on the top of her page, I'd be like,
no thanks. Yeah,
yeah, over.
uh,
I don't want to.
no, this
I
is
don't want
it.
you talking on my
No,
behalf. You sound like
I've seen it.
a
I've had
crazy
I've
person.
seen people send in like highly experienced candidates into like a low level temp job because they just needed to fill the job, and then get really annoyed at the candidate for pulling out after a week or two because another process has come off and actually the money that they want to make and the kind of job they want to do has become available, right?
Mm.
And then I've seen that same consultant then get really annoyed at that candidate. And it's like, well, if you're putting a square peg in a round hole, you got to expect there to be some sort of backlash at some point. Yeah, so I think that's unacceptable, really. Like recruiters like that need to be better. There are
Mm.
some fantastic recruiters out there, mate, who really get to know their candidates, understand kind of like their drivers, their motivators, right, and will go out hell for leather to bat for them. But there's just not enough of them.
This is why I think like the bad ones get highlighted so much because there's like I've worked with a lot of good ones. Like a couple of years ago, I had one who like really came to bat for me, got me in there into the interview, helped me prep for all my interview
Yeah.
stages, like gave me loads of background on the company because they'd obviously like done repeat business for
Mm-hmm.
this company and like constantly was like their prime recruiter. Like really knew their stuff about the business. It wasn't just like, oh, I've got a thingy. It's like, can you interview on like Tuesday because I obviously need to fill 5 people for this, and I've got 4 people already.
That kind of pressure is a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? If you're putting that level of pressure on yourself because you're worried about targets or getting sacked or getting on an improvement plan or whatever, you're going to start trying to cut corners, and unfortunately, then you're going to get people drop out. You're going to get people pull out your processes, and then you're going to end up making a decision to put a rant on LinkedIn about it.
But it's, for me, it's like, my understanding of it is like, you're like relationship managers. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're intermediary between client and business.
Candidate.
Client and candidate. Yeah. And so it's like, your whole thing is to manage that relationship to make both things look like viable and sexy and lucrative for both.
Mm-hmm.
You know, both shareholders, both stakeholders, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Both sides. So it's like do you know what I mean? Like, if they get into a job and you've really done your business and sold it, and like, you know, the client's like, yeah, we want to give this person a good thing, but you've made a match in heaven, right?
Yeah.
Then they shouldn't want to leave. But if they're leaving, it's because they weren't a match, and like you've jumped hoops or whatever, and like you've not seen them.
You've forced them in. Yeah. Unfortunately, it happens, mate, and I think that's breeding kind of a lot of negativity in the recruitment market at the minute, in the job market at the minute, because there's a lot of that going on at the moment. A lot of it going on because, you know, in certain sectors, candidates are scarce. You know, in other sectors, they're very happy where they are and they don't want to move.
What sector or industry has got like most like flaky sort of like mercenary type candidates, do you reckon? Well, that's going to happen a lot.
That's a tough one to answer. Generally speaking, the lower paid, more manual or kind of traditional working class jobs, right?
Okay. I wouldn't have thought that. Actually.
No, well, think about it. They're you know, if somebody's being paid $13.50 an hour to be a TIG welder somewhere, and they find out that the guy across the road is paying £14 an hour, they'll move for that.
Yeah,
they've got no loyalty to the business that they're working, unless the business is looking after them. But generally speaking, if you're a temp and you're paid on a weekly basis, well, the client, the hiring company really only needs to give you a day's notice to get rid of you. So you should always have that in the back of your mind. Like, loyalty is kind of two-way street, you know. They're giving you a perm contract and they're looking after you, and you're getting time off that's paid, and you're getting sick pay, and you're getting all the like pension and all the other like things that you're entitled to. I was going to call them perks then, but they're not perks; they're just entitlements, right? The things that you're entitled to.
That's something we'll talk about later.
Yeah. But like, you know, if they're giving you that, then yeah, fine. There's a bit of loyalty that they could expect from you. But yeah, generally speaking, it's that weekly pay kind of, you know, competitive market. There was a point where, you know, there was a shortage of truck drivers, and people were competing over sort of 25-30p an hour margins, and people were leaving like DHL to go across the road to FedEx because they were paying 25p an hour more. You know, Joe.
Wow.
Because you know, why do we all go up and go to work for the money? You know,
very
primarily.
True.
So that generally they're the, but then that translates to like the busier jobs as well. Same with locums, right? There's a shortage in the NHS for doctors. There's no shortage of doctors. They're just not working for the NHS.
Right. Yeah.
There's no shortage of. My wife's in teaching. There's no shortage of teachers. They're just not working for the councils or the academies that the councils have set up.
They're going for all the private jobs.
They're going for either private, or they're going on supply work, or they're leaving and going to Dubai, Australia, Canada, anywhere that's paying more, because it's a better life. Yeah, so it's a tougher conversation, really.
I mean, I feel like there's like a lot of, from like my view, and there's a lot of like frustration in the industry. Do you know what? As well, I've noticed as well. As soon as I don't play ball, as a client, as a candidate recently, as soon as I'm not playing ball with what they want out of me, then they just like fuck me right off straight away. Like straight away. I don't even get a message response. As soon as they say like, oh, you know, like.
Do you know what? Right. Historically, in recruitment, it was always control your candidate, and if the candidate doesn't play ball, then move on to one that will allow you to play ball. Right. I've seen that happen so many times within my own business, and been really disappointed at the results of it, because it's kind of like, stop playing God, right? Your job is to consult and be an introducer of personnel, right?
Mm.
You're a business that's hiring. You're a bunch of people that are looking for opportunities. Let me go through your skill sets and so on. Let me speak to my client, find out what they need, and make that match, right? The recruiters that are out there that kind of operate in the manner that we're talking about now, in sort of doing all this boring, shitty kind of behavior, those are the ones who are going to be displaced by automation and AI. Because I can create, and I can do it now. I can create a bit of tech that takes you as a candidate and your CV and populates a database of all your key skills and soft skills and everything else, and puts that in a database. And then a client comes along and puts their job spec in, fills out a few more questionnaires about personality fit, culture type, the kind of thing that they're looking for, the intangibles that might not be on the CV. And then the system just goes, oh, Kynan is a 99% fit. When do you want to see him for an interview? And they'll go, I'm available this day, this day, this day. Here's my diary. That diary then comes into your inbox. You pick the slot. Yeah, 11 o'clock Tuesday. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Do a virtual interview, then move on to a face-to-face. Where's the recruiter in that? Not needed. Right? And these are the same ones that are like, no, AI is not going to take my job. Well, it fucking is. If that's how you recruit, unfortunately, your days are numbered.
Well, I got approached by what I'm assuming is like some sort of AI filtering system. Do you know what I mean? And then like outbound thing, where it's like it must have just matched me on some CV database somewhere, and then it just invited me for the first interview, sort of like opening thingies, to just add a series of questions and me just record my responses to the questions with zero human input. Do you know what I mean?
No,
and
absolutely.
that's the screening process, isn't
That's it. Exactly. Yeah. And then you've got recruiters out there that will argue that, the AI can't think and it can't understand the culture of the business and it can't do this and it can't do that. And what I always see is a trend, right? All of those things that these recruiters that don't like the concept of AI taking their jobs, understandably so, but all those recruiters that don't like that and that argue those points, also, hand on heart, can't say that they do any of those things either. Do you know what I mean? Like they're just scanning an item and putting it in the bag. So what's the difference? It's just that the system and the automation is going to be better and better equipped at doing it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's certainly it's a bit more unconventional. Like once people start seeing that it's like cost effective and does the same job as these sort of like minimum output thingies, like it's going to become the norm.
But then recruitment agencies could benefit from this sort of tech as well, right? Because
it'll cut out some of their time.
The biggest, you go through any of these Reddit posts that we look at and sort of chuckle to ourselves and a lot of the constant kind of issue that people are complaining about on LinkedIn at the minute. But when I say people, I mean candidates, right, and job seekers, the lack of communication, right? I mean, I saw one. This is a Cloudflare developer, and he was like, he's sort of mapped out what and we're talking over 200 applications, and of which 170 odd hadn't even responded to him, and then that filters down to like this many interviews, and then one job offer, right? And you think, right, so I think the number was 167 of these applications didn't respond to him.
Yeah.
As recruitment business owners, it ain't difficult to either train your staff to or purchase some automation software that will automatically email a candidate back out of courtesy and courtesy alone and say, really sorry, you haven't been selected for interview on this one, right? Don't let it put you off from applying again in the future. But, if you want individual feedback, maybe get in touch with us. This is just a generic, explain it, right? This is just a generic automated message, just so that you're not hanging on for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, whilst you've got 200 candidates in your inbox that have applied, you don't know those 200 people's journeys. And one of those might be 2 weeks away from being evicted from their apartment. Another one might be sat there going, I've got medical bills to pay. And then another one might be sat there going, I have no money and I'm using a food bank to eat. And you don't know their personal circumstances. And they might be sat there going, I'm perfect for this job. This is the one that's going to get me out of the mess that I'm in. It's our responsibility as recruiters to acknowledge that actually it's all right, to give some feedback and say, sorry, mate, not this one. I've got better applicants. I've got more appropriate applicants, whatever it might be. But just be common and courteous enough to do that. Because I'll tell you who will. AI will. Don't argue then when AI comes and takes your job. Because the AI isn't going to be like, oh, it's just awkward. I don't want to have that conversation. Shut the fuck up and just tell that candidate that didn't get the job so they can move on with their life.
I'm waiting for feedback of our final interviews, not first round, multi-stage interviews, right? We'll get onto that in just a minute, right? Multi-stage interviews where I haven't received any feedback. Do you know what I mean?
That's fucking nuts, isn't it? That's
crazy.
Nuts. I'm going to show you this.
And as far as I can see, they haven't hired anybody, so it's like it's not you busy with your new candidate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look at this, right? So there's a text message. Hi, it's such and such from such and such group. I'm the recruiter, reached out to you via LinkedIn last week. Do you have time to chat on Monday or tomorrow? Yeah, sure. How about Monday around 11 o'clock, right? That was in September 2022. Nothing after that at all. Didn't do the phone call. Didn't follow up at all. A year and a half later, hey, sorry we never got round to speaking, but I saw that you moved to such and such a client recently. And I just want to say congrats. Let's keep in touch. And if you ever want to explore roles with other such and such clients, then my clients include blah, 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 blah. So basically, you agreed a phone call with this candidate. You decided, now I've got better opportunities and options. Blanked and ghosted that candidate for a year and a half until they moved to one of the competitors of the clients that you're working for. And you thought, oh, I need to headhunt this person. So then you thought you'd reach back out again and just completely gloss over the fact that, oh yeah, sorry we didn't get a chance to speak that time. How do you know at that time, in September 22, this candidate wasn't going through it and was like, I needed that job. Or I really wanted that job. Not even need, I really wanted that job. That sounded really good and you didn't even call me. And now you got the nerve to reach that level of arrogance is what pisses me off. It's like,
I mean, this job,
it's unnecessary.
This job was waiting for feedback. I told him, like, oh, I'm handing my notice and I'm trying to, like, get it done as soon as possible, ideally. So them getting nothing back. And I took my time to, like, I created a presentation for them that was, like, 20 sides long.
Yeah.
With, like, research. This is what some of these things I think they're doing. Like, I had, like, research and marketing strategy, content plan, all this sort of stuff. They're just, I feel like they're just stealing it and then, like, being like, well, we'll take the best of these bits and then just...
Yeah, so I've seen this happen. I was recruiting for a CMO, 160k salary, big package, like big hire for these guys. And there are two people at final stage. Both did like really comprehensive presentations on everything from user behavior, driving user traffic, engagement, metrics, different systems that they would use and implement in tracking, everything, right?
Dog's bollocks.
Yeah. Rejected both candidates and then hired somebody for like 75 grand who used to be a head of marketing and gave them, and I know this because I know the candidate really well. And this candidate was like, mate, who are these two people? Because I've got given these two presentations and have just been told by the MD, can you look through these and implement these? And I was like, that's just disgusting.
That's so shady.
It's disgusting. It's like that sort of, and that's not the recruiter's fault. That's client behavior.
Do you know there's missing a trick where there should be some sort of platform where you upload these presentations and then it just deletes it after a while.
Yeah, but no. Do you know what you do? Is if you're a candidate at that level doing that sort of stuff, get them to sign an NDA.
Yeah,
legal documents are fairly easy to get hold of, right? And in terms of online and stuff like that. That can be customized and enough to be taken seriously. Just get them to sign an NDA. Yeah, I'll do that for you. I will deliver this presentation, but you're signing this NDA first that says that you're not going to use any of this information. And if you do, then you will compensate me for my time or energy or efforts and stuff like that. I think it's about time, though, that this is the thing, right? It's about time that job seekers started kind of challenging a bit more and started, and it's easy for me to say sat here not wanting or needing a job, but like we as job seekers are so subservient to those that are in control, right? The powers that be, the hiring people. I mean, you're going through it right now.
Yeah.
And like, you know,
it's not a very empowered position.
No, of course it's not. And we had this conversation, right? You had somebody at the drop of a hat say to you, can you be in London tomorrow? And you were like, yeah, but the fucking train tickets cost me nearly £100. And I've gone, just tell them no. It's going to cost me £100 to get there.
Yeah.
Are you going to reimburse me for that? No. All right. So can we talk about a week from now or a week and a half from now where the train fares are a bit more reasonable? Do you know what I mean? But you didn't do that. And the reason you didn't do that is because you're like, no, I kind of need the job. I don't want to piss them off. So we have this natural kind of human reaction to be subservient to people who are in control. And that's why I think candidates then play these stupid games that some recruiters play. And they play up to it and they will jump through all the hoops that they're made to jump through. I mean, I've seen fucking interview on these forums and stuff. People are going through like 7 stages of interviews only to be rejected at the end.
I've never done anything quite like that, but I've done like 4 stage before, where it's like opening conversation, you know what I mean, where it's normally like a Teams call or a phone call.
Right.
Then I've done a more official Teams call where it's like competency questions or whatever.
Right.
Then I've done a face-to-face with like a hiring manager and like HR.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4th one is like with, you know, like CEO or managing director or whatever it is. But like
the control freak.
Yeah. Someone who's like, well, I've got to speak to him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, well, that says to me, like, you don't trust the person below you.
That's it. In recruitment, we used to call that the rubber stamping exercise. Oh, Colin, great news. Just got one more thing to do now is to meet the MD or the CEO, founder, whatever. It's just a rubber stamping exercise. And it's kind of like, are you a control? Is that founder a control freak, or do they not trust their people?
Do you know what I'm sick of
because
hearing?
It's one of those two.
I'm sick of hearing this, and stop doing this. Where they say like, okay, it's like, you know, 3-stage interview. Second one will be competency question with the hiring manager too. But basically, that's the thing to people like, can you do this job?
Yeah.
Are you like a right fit for this role?
Mm-hmm.
Which should be the end of it, right? They should be able to make a decision based on that. Then it's like, oh, we've got a third thing where you can meet the team and like see if you're a good fit and all the culture and that. What do you think the outcome is that would be? I'm gonna meet the team and the person's gonna go, I don't like him, don't hire him. Yeah, and that, they're going to go, well, that person said that, and so there you go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't understand that.
Everybody said yes, Mark said no.
Yeah.
So the answer's no. Well, it's
like, I'm sorry, we hire by committee, so you can't.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, at first stage, get all the people that I need to impress in one room.
Yeah.
You know, let's set up a little mixer. Allow me to, like, you know, do a speed dating process. Mix that shit up a bit. You know what I mean? Like, if you're that weird of a business that you've got you know, everyone on the team needs to agree. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll sit here and give me 5 minutes with everybody on like a rotational basis. You know, and do that the first stage, and then let's move on from that. You know, it's nuts, mate. The whole hiring process is nuts at times because, you know, the whole for me the whole concept of a CV is bizarre because it's like, you know. And so, you know, when I had a recruitment agency, we had accounting and finance, tech and digital, and then engineering division, right? The engineering division was everything from sort of like senior engineers and sort of technical architects and their technical engineers, all the way down to like your proper hairy arse engineer, right? Your welders and your fabricators and that kind of thing. And these guys, we would like go, oh, okay, have you got a CV? And you'd be like, yeah, not really, no. Okay. And it's like, well, what do you want to know? We've been fucking welding for 20 years. I worked at that place, and that place. But what am I going to write on my CV? I welded here, I welded there, and I welded now there. You know, and now I want to weld for you. Like, do you know what I mean? And I used to just kind of think about it and think, well, this is a bit of a stupid exercise, getting them to fill out a CV.
Yeah.
Really, what I should do is just get their employment dates and so on, and speak to the engineering manager or the fabrication manager and so on, and be like, right, I've got somebody. They can do all the things that you want, the pipe lengths and the type of metals that you want, and so on and so forth, and send them in for a weld test. And that's what they used to do: go in for a weld test, and they would establish, okay, yeah, this person's good, or no, this person's not. And I was like, that surely should just apply to the wider world by now, right? There are people who have been in like the tech and digital world. You've got software engineers that have been, you know, oh yeah, I've been working in software engineering since 2004, 20 years experience. Yeah, that's great. But the tech stack you're working on today is only 5 years old. So the person who's only got the 5 years experience, but on the relevant tech stack, is probably just as gifted and skilled as you are. The other 15 years that you got might be valuable. It might be pointless.
I interviewed at Hermes when I was 20, right, for a warehouse job, and they asked me for a CV. Then I was like, "Yeah, I've got arms. That's all you need to know." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it's just a stupid concept for by and large. It's sort of like, yeah, no, I don't get it personally. But then you move on to the interviewing process, and it's like, I'm going to sit and talk to you and get to know you and ask you if you can do these things. Then you've convinced me about that. Then you've got your rubber stamping exercise. You've met the team. Everything's great. Day one, you come in and you're crap. Then what do I do? Do you know what I mean? And it's like do some in-tray exercises. Get them to demonstrate they can do the job rather than talking about.
I definitely think there should be some sort of more nuanced interview process for different industries and skill sets and whatever, because like they're just doing this blanket approach.
Yeah.
And
it's powered by HR.
Yeah.
Because they need to have some level of continuity, I suppose, in some respect. But yeah, I don't know. I feel bad right now. It's such a tough market for job seekers because you've got recruiters who are the really good ones are really busy. Mate, they are really busy, right? And how many candidates can one person register? At any given time, and continue to deliver an excellent service. If I'm genuinely spending sort of half an hour, 45 minutes each time I speak to you on the phone with you or on a Teams to get to know you, get to know your circumstances, explain things to you. There's only so many hours in the day. I can't do that with everybody. But when you put a job advert out and you get 200 responses in less than 48 hours, you can't. It's difficult for good recruiters to deal with that.
That's another thing I want to ask you about. Obviously, I've never been on this side of it, but like LinkedIn as a platform, every job I think I've seen in the past couple of months when I've been looking, 100+ applicants.
Yeah,
every time.
Yeah.
Like, how is it filtering out those? Do you know what I mean? Like, it must have some sort of system in place where it gives them like a rating or a percentage.
No, LinkedIn doesn't. No,
it doesn't do that.
No.
It
just provides you the CVs, and it's up to you to as a recruiter.
So this is what I'm thinking as well. When I'm applying for someone, I don't get anything back, but I think, I'm like, it says on my LinkedIn Premium that I'm a 90% match for that. I think I should be at the top of the pile then, surely. No. But I reckon they look for the first 20, 30, 50, and then they go, these are right.
Again, even the best recruiters in the world, right? They've got to put together a shortlist. It's a retained job or an exclusive job. The client told me I've got a week to get CVs to them because they want to get on with the hiring process, right? I'll put an advert out. Within 48 hours, I've got 100 responses. I don't even need 10 candidates to go through really to get my 5 shortlists. Maybe 15, maybe 20 at a push, right? That still leaves 80 applications that I'm not even going to look at because I haven't got the time to. And this is me doing a good job.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a shit job, I'm going through and, controversially or not, I know this because I've seen it happen. Racial bias kicks in, orientational bias kicks in, sexual bias kicks in, and so you'll go through. I don't like that name. Don't like that name. Oh no, they're not going to want a woman. They want a bloke, or they only want a woman. And all this bias kicks in, and you go, okay, yeah, great. I've got Matthew, John, Luke, and James.
Do you know what?
do you know what I mean? But this is unfortunately this happens.
Do you know what I thought? Obviously I've never used it as a recruiting platform or a hiring platform, LinkedIn. But I thought it would have been like diversity toggle. Do you know what I mean? Something like that. It like filters them through. And it's like, what are you looking for?
Well, the thing is, we live in a globalized world now, right? With lots of
remote stuff and like
The fact of the matter is, right. More and more UK businesses should be, and I think will be, looking at offshoring their teams, right? Not outsourcing, but offshoring to parts of the yeah, exactly, right. And so it's like parts of the world where labour is cheaper but more effective, and the working culture is different to or more aligned to what they want it to be or whatever. And so it's going to become even more difficult for people trying to get jobs here, right? My advice to job seekers, especially on LinkedIn, mate, is really simple. Applying will only get you so far. You need to network. You need to use LinkedIn in the way that it was originally designed for, which is a networking site, right? A business networking site. So if there's a business you really, really want to go and work for, follow them. So you get the notifications on when they are hiring and they put their jobs out. So you can go, be the one at the top of the top 10 list because you need to apply straight away. But more importantly, connect in with the decision makers. If you're an engineer, connect in with the engineering manager. If you're in marketing, connect with the head of marketing and introduce yourself to them. Put yourself on their radar. Listen, here's where I am at the moment. I really like your business for the following reasons. If an opportunity comes up, will you think of me? What do you need to, is it worth us grabbing a coffee at some point? Right?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you now, that's what recruiters do. The good recruiters out there, they're not just sat there trawling through the job boards being like, great, company ABC are hiring for a driver, let me send them a load of drivers. Great, this company are hiring for an admin clerk, let me go and hire. Yeah. The good recruiters they're connecting with the clients that they want to work with in their verticals and are networking with them and are talking to them so that they get first mover advantage when they are hiring, right? And so when I sit down with the head of marketing at a place and they go, yeah, I'm really looking for somebody who's like ready to step up, they're really good at these sorts of things, I can go, do you know who'd be good for you? You want to speak to my mate Kynan. In fact, here's his CV, fire it over to him. So when's this job go live? Well, to be honest with you, I'm just waiting on HR to approve it, but it is live. All right, well, when you have a conversation with him tomorrow, that job hasn't even been advertised yet. You got an interview, you're first in line.
Yeah.
That's how
it's very proactive approach.
Unfortunately, mate, in this day and age, that's how that's the only way to get noticed. You got to
peacock a bit.
It's the only way to get noticed. On a platform like LinkedIn, full of noise, the only way to get noticed is to stand out and do those little things.
Yeah, well, I'm working on the whole influencer marketing, doing more posts and stuff like that, because that seems to be the way to better utilize the platform as a whole. So yeah, I'm working on that aspect.
Add value.
Yeah.
All I'll say is just make sure you're adding value, right? There's a lot of people that will just post noise and shit for the sake of it, and at first glance, it's very easy to look at and be like, oh, well, they're getting loads of traction, loads of people are commenting. Most of these people are in pods. Right, they're in little WhatsApp groups or they're in little LinkedIn groups where they copy and paste each other's posts. Can everyone like it? Can everyone share it? The behind the scenes of that world is disgusting.
What really kills me about doing that sort of stuff, right, is like the typical LinkedIn post where it's like, my dad last year was dying of terminal cancer, and it really made me feel it's like running a help desk. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and then it's a picture of them, their selfie with their smiling. It's like,
these quasi influencers and stuff, because they're following the wrong model. Because there are people who, certainly in my network on LinkedIn, there's an accountant, for example, and he'll go, I had a client that was turning over, this much, and they thought that their tax bill would be this much. What they didn't consider was X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. Actually, his tax bill was this much. Guys, if you're in this type of world doing this, talk to your accountant about X, Y, and Z, because these are the outcomes, right? And I was like, that's such a valuable post to people who would look at that and be like, oh shit, that applies to me. Rather than be like, here I am in Bali, sitting here on my, on the beach with this coconut reminds me of, when I did the accounts for, and making some tedious link back to some bullshit.
Yeah, I'm looking back on my time when I was like more hands-on and now I've got this more freedom of thinking. But I had to put the hard work in. This is what the guys don't understand. Like, oh, great.
I'm an iceberg. I don't give a fuck,
I mean?
Mate. Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's like, like I said, I think you have to add value and not just be like this frivolous, like motivational speaker bullshit.
This is where people get it wrong. Is everyone's trying to be a motivational speaker, right? Listen, Tony Robbins is great at what he does. Let him do it.
That's what I was thinking. I wanted to say Gary Vee, but like I was thinking
again, Gary Vee. The difference between that is, yes, Gary Vee does a lot of his motivational stuff, right? But actually, he adds a lot of fucking value as well. Like I've got so much out of just watching some of his clips where I'm like, that's what we need to be doing on the podcast. It's no good just putting out an hour podcast. I've got to clip it into where the value is and put that out for free and put that out in an accessible manner, because that's what's then going to drive the views and the activities. And that's what y'all got from Gary Vee. Tony Robbins, he just taught me how to love myself. Like that. I've never got anything more than just like wishy-washy fucking holistic shit out of that guy.
Tony Robbins, I look at him and every time I just think Frankenstein. He looks exactly like a Frankenstein.
He's made the most.
He's done. He's done all right for himself, but he literally looks like a lurch or something. It's crazy. He's got the weirdest physicality for like what he does.
He's got giantism or some shit.
He's got something like that. It's crazy. Here's what I want your opinion on.
Go on.
So like I've been getting two ends of the spectrum, I'm thinking. So I'm in a very like middle place in my career. So I'm not like entry level, like opening stuff. Like I'm in like a couple of years into my career, right? But then again, I'm not like senior enough to like go for stuff. So I'm in this sort of weird middle place. So I'm getting like these two kinds of feedbacks, like lack of experience, right? Or not lack of experience, but not as experienced as other candidates. Do you remember when we back in December, and you were thinking about hiring for RecTalk and everything? And then obviously I came up and we've been working together since, right? But you showed me like the feedback you were getting. You were like, there's a guy here who's been a managing director. There's a guy who's had his own marketing thingy for like 4 or 5 years. And this is like the type of people we're going for like a 30k job. You know what I mean? Where it's like, they're obviously clearly overqualified, but because of where the market is, they're going for these.
Yeah.
That's what I'm finding. Where I'm getting to these end stage interviews where I'm getting like, it's like 3 or 4 stages, and they're saying, well, we've just gone with someone who's got either experience on our industry, which is just tipped them over, or they've got like 7 years experience over your 3 or 4 or 5. So it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to do about that?
It's a really, it's a good question, and actually it's something that a lot of people are going through at the minute, because look, the job market is skewed. Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. There are some really experienced people who are willing to work for less because it's a 20k reduction in my salary is still better than earning 0, right? There's a lot of people that have been made redundant. A lot of businesses going insolvent is at an all-time high, right? So there's a lot of former business owners that may have, like, say, marketing, for example, that would have ran successful marketing agencies that all of a sudden, COVID happened, and then financial difficulties have hit, and over time they've eventually gone, I can't do this anymore. And these guys now just want the easy life, or they want to, just get some money in so they can kind of refocus and so on and so forth. And I feel for people who are in that kind of middle of the road career piece where it's sort of like, I do want to get on, and I want to either earn more or get that pay rise or get that kind of promotion in terms of job title and so on and so forth. I think the truth is you just have to accept that is going to be more difficult at the moment than historically it has been. Do you know what I mean? There's no magic fix to it. There's no magic wand. There's nothing that I'm going to say that's going to be like, that's what I've not been doing. You know what I mean? It's circumstantial. At the end of the day, that's what it is. It's circumstantial, right? And you just got to keep going. You got to keep trying until you find that opportunity. Yeah. But let's talk about the opportunity that you do have now going on, right? The opportunity you now have going on that hopefully by the time this goes out would have come over the line, you didn't apply for. You didn't go on Indeed and see it and click the apply button, right? I'd argue you didn't actually properly have to interview for it either. You secured it through a combination of networking and being referred and your LinkedIn activity, right?
Yeah.
Because I know a guy that might be able to help you actually. Hey, are you looking for somebody? Because I'm thinking of this and this. Have a look at this guy. We've been doing this sort of stuff.
True. It's a good case study.
That's how it's happened. And you haven't had to take a pay cut. You've got the job security element of it. You haven't had to change your aspirations and personal kind of what in an ideal world, when we spoke in December, you were like, a remote job that pays this, that gives me like access to doing this sort of cool shit. That's what I want. And here you are 3 months later, and that's exactly what's potentially on the table for you now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you haven't had to forego anything. The only thing it's taken is just time, right?
Yeah, it's a really weird space to be in, because like while simultaneously I'm going for the roles I am qualified to do.
Yeah.
Maybe slightly a bit overqualified, but for me to get that next step, it's even more competitive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because they're people like I said, who are like willing to downsize, are also going for those roles as well, because obviously because it's less of a hit for them.
That's it.
It's just crazy, and I'm also getting like bombarded with the entry level people who are trying to go up one as well. Do you know what I mean?
It's the thing is, right, it's such a bizarre time right now, because you've got a load of people who are newly skilled across the board. This is right, whether it's tech, whether it's accountancy and finance, whether it's digital marketing, even engineering to a degree. You've got all these people that are school leavers that have gone through either the university route and the college route or the apprenticeship route. So you've got the market being flooded this side with a new workforce. You've got in the middle the kind of, they're a year into the job, they now want a bit more because the cost of living's getting up, they want to kind of continue their career trajectory, so they're pushing ahead. In the middle then to that, you've got a cross section of people who are essentially your Gen Xers and millennials like me, who have become so disheartened with the way the working world is and have changed their priorities, don't want to be on the corporate ladder anymore, don't give a shit about climbing up to be number one. Actually, they're like, do you know what? I could comfortably take a 5, 10, maybe even a 16k pay rise and cut back on a few things and live quite comfortably and be able to do my hours and go home and not have to carry the stress and the workload that I'm carrying right now. So you've got all these people that are also eyeing up these jobs that this generation here are eyeing up, or former business owners or whatever, right? And they're all eyeing it up. And then you've got a bunch of people on the other side that are kind of like, the fuck, where is everybody? Like, no one's applying for our senior jobs, right? And everyone seems to be in that kind of that sort of 25 to 45, maybe 55k bracket. They're all scrambling for those jobs. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a really, really weird time at the minute, which I think is being driven a lot by things like political issues, social issues, economical problems, and mental issues as well. There's people that just don't want the stress.
Do you know what I'm getting on the other side as well? This is the other element of it. I'm also getting from like 3 different places I've applied for that I've done initial interviews for. The feedback I get straight away is that you're overqualified. What is that? Like the reason I've entertained these jobs, obviously, because they're a little bit less, than I should be applying for, or I am applying for, is because I've got the business interests me, or the culture interests me, or the role sort of sold to me. It's kind of what I'm looking for, because it's kind of like some of these places where they don't have really a marketing set up. They've never had a previous person, and you can kind of make you kind of make your market, and you can kind of
it's not a dead man choose job.
Yeah, exactly. There's an element of potential there that I'm willing to invest in by maybe taking a slight little step back in seniority or responsibility or title or whatever. Because none of that shit is it's frivolous. It's bullshit, really. But then getting feedback is like, you're overqualified. What am I supposed to do with that? You know what I mean?
I would argue, mate, 70% of the time when people say you're overqualified, they mean you want too much money.
Do you think so?
100%. Being in recruitment, because it's easier to sit there as a recruiter and feed back to a candidate, "Oh, you're overqualified," unfortunately, than it is to say the client doesn't want to spend that kind of money.
But the thing is, on 2 of those aspects, one, I was a little bit above what they were asking, and I was just like, "Can we meet here?" Right? But 2 of them were like, it was a higher bracket, right? It was the end of the sales range, salary range, but
look, okay, so recruiters,
why put it out like that?
Because I'll tell you why. Because recruiters have this really shitty habit of speaking to a client says my budget's 30k, and they will advertise it 30 to 35 because they want to scrape in a bit more of the 35. And to be able to present the options to the client and go, "Hey, Mr. Client, here's a candidate at 28k, here's a candidate at 30k like you asked for, and here's 2 at 32 and 35k, just so you can see the difference." And Mr. Client says, "No, 30k is the top end of my budget, mate. I can't push that any further than that. So I'll interview 28k and 30k candidate, tell 32, 35, no thank you." And then the recruiter goes back and says, rather than saying, "Hey, client, I'm really sorry, I'll put you forward at a higher amount than what the client's budget was," and that make themselves look stupid, they just go back and go, "You're overqualified," or "Not quite what they were looking for." They're finding an excuse. It's always an excuse that they'll give you, because it's this is controversial now. Recruitment is no longer a sales job. Those people who continue to treat it as a sales job will continue to do shitty, stupid things like that example, and numerous others. Those recruiters who treat recruitment now as a marketing job and accept its importance and place within the marketing element of kind of what they do, marketing an opportunity, marketing out to candidates, casting a wide net to narrow that down, effectively using things like social networking and personal business networking. Those people who get that, they're the ones that don't treat candidates like shit and don't end up treating them like a number. They treat them like a conversion. So they're focused on getting a job, because that's what you do in marketing. You're converting people, right?
Yeah.
In sales, you cast the net as far and wide as you can and try and sell to everybody with the same message. In marketing, you personalize that message to each different customer profile. That's my argument. I think, and I get lambasted on LinkedIn for that, and the industry is not ready to hear it. But I can promise you now, this time in a year, there'll be more people saying that, because recruitment is not a sales job.
Yeah, well, it
shouldn't be anymore.
The idea of marketing people as an opportunity or whatever, or a candidate, it's like he's just selling people. We sell people, right? Yeah.
You sell a slab of steak.
Yeah.
You sell meat. You sell cheese. You sell a car. You sell like non-sentient things. You don't sell people. You market people. You market to people. It's a mentality change, but I think the mentality shift, those recruiters that have gone through that mentality shift have also gone through a shift in how they treat the people that they're involved in. When you're selling to a prospect, the prospect's up here. Please, Mr. Client, give me a vacancy. Please, Mr. Client, take my candidate. Please, Mr. Client, pay my fee. Pay my invoice. And if you're then selling an item or a commodity, you treat that commodity like you do any other commodity. Oh, it's nice and shiny when it's new, but when it gets a little scratch, I'm going to chuck it away. You know what I mean? Right? In marketing, it's not like that. Because in marketing, I'm marketing a product or a solution to your problem. And I'm presenting that to you. Because I'm an experienced person with an insight and expertise in my field, and you need that from me. So it's not please, Mr. Client. It's listen, Mr. Client, come with me. Let me take you on a journey. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And the good recruiters do that, and the shit recruiters continue to sell. And then the shit recruiters get on LinkedIn and argue with me about how recruitment is a sales job, and I've lost the plot. And I'm sitting there going, look, the fucking numbers speak for themselves, guys. Candidate feedback speaks for itself. Client feedback speaks for itself. Recruitment is not a sales and a numbers game anymore. And if you think it is, there's a bunch of places you can go and work for the next 3 to 4 years before automation comes and takes your job.
Yeah, I don't think there's any. I don't think they're going anytime soon.
Oh, but they'll be the ones that will be the old South Park. They took our jobs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They'll be those guys. Yeah.
But I ask you this, right? Why can't they ascertain whether I'm too experienced? Why do they have to all interview me?
Because people lie on their CVs. I lied on my CV.
So.
I've lied on my CV loads. In fact, I remember being interviewed by somebody who said to me, listen, most people lie on their CV, right? And I was like, yeah. He turned my CV around, put it in front of me, threw a highlighter at me and went, just highlight the bullshit on your CV. And I was like, can we not do this? People lie on their CV. So you got to meet people you got to interview people.
Yeah.
But it's the nature and how you conduct those interviews, I think. That's the problem.
I think with CV stuff, right, there's lying and there's embellishing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the difference. And also half-truths.
Yeah.
A lot of people tend to do that. So like lying, saying like I managed a team of 5, right? When you didn't, that's a lie. Saying like I had close relationships with a varied team. Do you know what I mean? Like, or like I was coordinating a team together. Do you know what I mean? It's just a different kind of language where it's like embellishment.
The problem is, mate, it's so nuanced, right? Because if I've got a team of people and I'm promoting internally, I'll absolutely take Bob and be like, Bob, you're my new team leader. I'm going to invest in you and make you my team leader. But if I'm hiring externally, I want this person to have had people management experience. Why? I was happy to train Bob up. So why does Claire have to have the experience? Why can I not interview Bob and Claire and go, actually, Claire, you seem to understand the psychology of management a lot better than Bob, and you haven't got the existing internal relationships that Bob's going to have to step away from, thereby making it more difficult for him to be a team leader. So do you know what? I'll take a punt on you. I'm going to have to upskill somebody. Why not take you?
Yeah.
But because people don't think like that, because hiring businesses and hiring managers don't think like that, Claire's got to lie and be like, yeah, I'll manage 5 people. Tell me I didn't. Yeah. And then Bob's going to go off and apply for another job somewhere and be like, I was promoted and applied for 5. Bob could be the shittest manager in the world, by the way. He was a shit team leader, right? But because he was promoted and he did actually manage 5 people, external business over there is going to be like, fuck me, Bob, join my business tomorrow, please. It's such a fucking stupid like setup. It's a pyramid scheme type of mentality, and it's like it boggles my mind. But I just don't think that at the moment there's no effective replacement for that model. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of sometimes look at it and be like, well, what's the alternative? The alternative doesn't work, so we've just got to be better at what we're doing at the moment, you know? So yeah, let's meet them, let's run them through tests, accept that people lie on their CV, you know, and just see if you can suss it out. And if you can't, you can't. Fucking hell. It's not the first time people have been tricked. It ain't going to be the last, is it? Yeah. Like if you shouldn't take it personally. I think if you're a hiring manager who has been lied to or you've made the wrong decision, don't take it personally, right? And that's where it goes wrong a lot of the time, because people get their fingers burnt and then they continue to think that everybody. How many people? Like, did you see that post the other day where it was like remote workers and like it was fucking banging on about how like 70% of remote workers have got 2 jobs and they'll like do the bare minimum not to get sacked.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I was like,
listen,
you've had your fingers burnt. by a handful of people. Don't cast everybody with the same brush.
What? But it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, I can get it if, like, devil's advocate, if they're not doing the job that you're hiring them for, then sure, that's bad. It's not great, right?
But the problem don't rely on remote working, mate.
Yeah,
This concept of Boots have now decided to get everybody back into the
but
office.
that's not a remote working issue. You could have someone in the office who's also doing side
Just
stuff.
absolutely better.
Yeah.
Or doing the bare minimum.
Or yeah,
right?
or doing the bare minimum.
The issue isn't productivity. The issue isn't not productivity. The issue is you got member staff that don't give a shit. They're disengaged by you or your business, right?
And if they're working
whether they're
jobs,
in the
you gotta
office,
think,
well,
why are they doing that?
Exactly. Who the fuck wants to work more than 40 hours in a week?
Yeah.
Who's sitting there and be like, oh, I wish I did more of work. I'm gonna go get another job. People do it out of necessity. They just sit there on like a fucking and start blasting out a tirade about how remote workers are, they're pissing like their fucking system up and they're stealing a living and this, that, and the other. It's like, listen, bro, your issue isn't with your remote workforce. Your issue is with the fact that your employees are disengaged because they don't give a shit, and the reason they don't give a shit lies somewhere else.
I remember, right, when I used to work back office at Shell, there was a guy called Vikram, right? He'd work back office, he'd bang all the stuff, he knew all his stuff, knew all his shit, right? And then after that, he would go and do Uber Eats or Just Eat or whatever. And the manager, one of the managers there was like, he's so like industrious, isn't he? Like, he's so hard working. And I was like, yeah, because you're not paying him enough here, and he fucking has to go work 2 jobs.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like doing it because he's just, I love the graft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not thinking that. He's
that kid
I've got to make more money, and I'm not making
culture.
enough money here.
Yeah, that's it.
How can you look at that and be like, oh shit, this guy, he's never had a, you know what I mean? He does like the work, doesn't complain, always in early, like top like employee.
Model employee.
Model employee, right? Perfect example. But like he has to go and work. He has to go spend his evening after this slinging burgers and pizzas or whatever because we don't pay him enough here.
Yeah.
Or value him enough here.
Yeah.
Like if he was doing 2 jobs while he was working thingy, like that's your fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You need to look at why.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I think right now it's a really interesting, difficult time for job seekers and for recruiters and for hiring businesses. And unfortunately, those 3 different sections of the job market are not very sympathetic to each other. Because and why should they be, right? Everyone's got their own problems, everyone's got their own issues.
Goals and objectives aren't aligned.
They're not aligned at all.
In some cases, they're actually like
so far from each other. And I think until people start, whichever box you sit in, right, whether you're in the recruitment industry as a recruiter or whether you're a hiring manager or whether you're a candidate, until you start looking at patterns of what works and what doesn't work and try to understand and empathize with the overall situation, you're going to continue to be disappointed. As a recruiter, if you're not empathizing with your candidate and the stresses and pressures that they're under, or the stresses and pressures that your hiring managers are under, you're not going to do well. If you're a hiring manager and you're not empathizing with your recruiters, with your external recruiters, in terms of, they've sent you CVs, give them feedback. Like, it doesn't fucking take long to read a CV, even if you're only spending 2 minutes per CV. Read the CV and tell them yes or no, so they can tell our candidate and they can pass that on.
Yeah.
If you've got a candidate that you've decided to interview, don't call them in 7 times to see every different part of the fucking business. I need you to meet the receptionist, then I need you to meet the MD's barber, and then after that you're going to go on a fucking boat and meet the sailor. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, don't do stupid shit like that because people get disengaged.
And also, it says that you don't have that much interest in hiring them, and you want to make them jump through hoops. And you know what I mean?
Or you're stress testing them, or do you know what? You're just not very good at decision making.
You're not very empowered.
If you're a candidate, like, again, use LinkedIn effectively. Network with the right sorts of people. Get out of the mentality that I've applied for 1,000 jobs and haven't heard anything. That victim mentality is not going to help you. Unfortunately, you've got to learn to play the game, rightly or wrongly. Right? And look, my LinkedIn's always open. Message me, email me, whatever you want to do. Right? I'll give you the hints and tips and kind of nudge you in the right direction, because I feel for people in that situation, but I lose sympathy with those that are like, I've applied for 5,000 jobs in 6 months and haven't heard back. Okay, well, the definition of fucking, do you know what I mean? Like, of insanity is doing the same thing again and again. So let's stop doing that and let's start doing more of the things that do work. because that then in turn should drive the job market in the direction that we want it to go.
Yeah.
Well, that's just my opinion.
That's just one man's opinion.
That's it, yeah. And that is the state of recruitment according to me.
Thanks for the roundup.